So I've just returned from Johannesburg, where I did a series of entrepreneurial workshops, and the turnout was amazing. It was amazing for me to see the number of people that turned up and to get to know them, to get to know their aspirations, their business aspirations, what they are trying to achieve, trying to understand their problems in business, and to see the feeling of empowerment that they left with. I think that was the best part. But having spoken to so many people and having interacted with them, there's a couple of things that came to my notice about aspiring entrepreneurs. A couple of issues that I find that were common to all of them, and I want to discuss a couple of those, at least one, if not a couple of those, in today's episode. Let's start with the most apparent one. This is the part that even I got wrong for years, and this is where everybody is getting it wrong, which is this: that you don't really know your customers. Seriously, you might think that I'm selling a product and it appeals to certain people, but your demographic that you are targeting is so broad that sometimes they say when you're selling to everyone, you're actually selling to no one. So it's like you are sending a message across that I'm selling this product, and nobody's really listening because you don't really know who you're talking to. And because you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know what solution your product is providing them, what problem it is solving for them. Remember, people are not interested in you and your product. They are interested in the solution to their problems. And if your product is solving a problem, then you are on your way to selling. And then you can ask your price. And if your product is not solving a problem, then you really need to wonder and ask yourself, is it worth selling? A good example comes to mind where Sabri Subi, in his book entitled Sell Like Crazy, it's a very good book to read for those of you who want to learn how to sell online. He says this: if you are selling water and you want to sell it at an exorbitant price, find a person whose head is on fire. So you approach that person whose head is on fire and you point out to him, hey, you've got a problem, and your problem is that your head is on fire. So the person says, well, what can I do? So you say to the person, I've got the solution for you. Here's water. And you sell that person this water and you can ask your price for it. Now, why is this not just another glass of water? It's not just water. It's because it's solving a very specific problem, which is the head on fire. So what does he mean by this analogy? He means this: that when you are trying to sell a product to a person, don't sell them your product. Sell them a solution to the problem that they are facing. It could be something as mundane as water. And I'll give you a good example. One of the people I met in my travels, who attended one of my workshops, was a gentleman who sells biltong. And he says he is finding it difficult because it's such a competitive market. And I asked him a simple question: do you sell your biltong? Do you target travelers? And he looked at me blankly. Travelers? I says, yes, travelers, tourists. And I'll tell you why. Because I travel a lot. For those of you who follow my movements, I travel a lot. I mean, I'm just having a 2-week rest here in Durban, and then I'm off again on more travels right through till, I think, mid-November. But one of the issues for me is that I find it very difficult to find halal meat. For those of you who travel in a non-Muslim country, particularly South Africa, for example, you're going garden route, lots and lots of restaurants, lots and lots of shops. But halal is very hard to find. And so I found that a good substitute for halal meat is biltong. It's not the same thing, but it scratches that itch. You know, when you got that craving for meat, when you got that craving for for those proteins, then biltong, it scratches that itch. It satisfies you. And so I'm in the habit of taking a couple of kgs of biltong wherever I go, so that if I can't get meat, I just eat biltong. I mean, as a side to your egg, or pop it in a sandwich. It's really delicious. Or on a margarita pizza, it suddenly transforms the entire pizza. So I said to this gentleman that there is a multi-billion-dollar halal industry. People who travel all over the world, Muslims traveling all over the world, why aren't you targeting them? And that's when he realized that I haven't really understood my product. I haven't understood my customer. Who really are my customers? So yes, your customers are anyone who enjoys biltong, but have you segmented that customer base into particular segments who you can target that advertising to? Here's another one I told him. I walk a lot and I love doing nature trails. So when I'm at the top of a mountain and I'm really hungry, what's the best snack that I can have? It's you've walked the whole day, you're tired, you're hungry, you need something to eat. What better than biltong? Again, just eat the biltong as is or pop it into a sandwich and you eat it. You don't have to cook it, you don't have to prep it, you don't have to do anything. It's ready to eat. It's so much better than muesli and a dried fruit, right? This is a wholesome meal that you can have. So I asked him another question. Are you targeting people who do nature trails? Nope. And this is what I mean. When people are trying to sell something, but don't really understand their customers and they don't understand their products as well as they think they do. So here's my advice to you, aspiring entrepreneurs. Look at your product or re-look at your product, not as a product anymore, but as a solution, and see who is this solving a problem for. And then in your advertising, call them out. Call them out in your advertising. Don't try to advertise to everybody. Just call them out and say, for those of you who love the outdoors, who love nature trails, going up the mountains, here's the right snack for you. Those of you who are traveling, instead of taking kgs and kgs of meat and pre-prepared dishes, why not take 1 kg of biltong? It's so much lighter to carry. Call them out in your adverts. Segment your adverts to your different market segments. So that's the first thing. People don't understand their customers. And then they say their digital marketing efforts are not working. Ultimately, it's not digital marketing, it's just marketing. If you don't know how to market, you don't know how to market digitally. The platform that you use, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp or any other platform, TikTok, it's just a convenience. It just gives you the opportunity to get your product in front of eyes. But if the message that you are telling is not compelling enough, if your product is not solving a problem, then you can spend millions on your advertising. It's not going to bear the fruit that you want it to bear. So that's the first thing. The second thing I found, having spoken to so many entrepreneurs, is that in many of them, well, this wasn't so much in the workshops, but also in the kind of correspondence that I receive from people all over the world, is the sense of desperation. Person will start an email by saying, I am unemployed and I am desperate. See, desperation is always a recipe for disaster. Nobody can run a business when they are desperate. If you are desperate, don't even start a business. Because a business, the best analogy I can give is like planting a fruit tree. If you are desperate, that fruit tree is going to be a total waste of time. If you are desperately hungry, don't plant a fruit tree. Go and find some food. That's what you need right now. Satisfy that desperation, satisfy that hunger. Then come back and plant this tree, because this tree is not going to bear fruit today. It's not going to bear fruit tomorrow. It's going to take years before it bears fruit. But the fact remains that it will bear fruit. So I'm not saying don't plant the tree. I'm saying Go and satisfy your desperation first and then come and plant this tree. So those of you who say that to me, I'm desperate, the best advice I can give you is go and get a job. Go and start, look for a job, and even if it's something mundane that just manages to get you across every month. But once you've done that, don't lose sight of the fact that you wanted to start a business. Start your business while you are in your job. Start it as a side gig and let that business, like a little fruit tree, let it grow and grow and grow until the time comes when it's bearing enough fruit for you that you don't need the job. So don't be desperate when you're starting business. It's a recipe for disaster in business because you're going to make rash moves and you're going to chase every shiny thing and you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to burn yourself out so badly that you will never want to do business ever again. So just keep that in mind. Do not ever be desperate when you're starting a business, and don't start a business when you are desperate. Find a job, find a way to stop the ship from rocking, something to stabilize the cart, and then start your business, because you'll make the best decisions when you are not desperate. That's the second thing. Don't ever be desperate. So first and foremost, get to know your customers and your products. Secondly, don't ever be desperate. And the third one, this was a common one, really, really common. It's about the price wars. Do not ever get into a price war. Even if it means, now listen to me, this is going to sound very unpopular to most aspiring entrepreneurs. Even if it means abandoning the products that you think you want to sell and going into a completely different market, do that, but don't ever get into a price war. Because a price war is a recipe for disaster. Price wars never benefit anybody. What's going to happen? You're going to try to undercut your competitor. What do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to sit back and say, well, okay, you just beat my prices. I admit defeat, white flags. No, he's going to cut your price. And then you're going to cut his, and you're going to cut you. And it's an endless downward spiral until such a point where you are barely breaking even. But here's the worst part. It's not like your amount of work and effort is getting less. No, your rewards are getting less. You're still doing the same amount of work, if not more work, because if you are selling things that require pickup and delivery, now you're picking up and delivering more items at a lower price with a lower profit margin, which means that the amount of benefits and rewards you're getting out of it is even lower. So basically, you're putting yourself into a position where you're working harder for less. Listen to me. Do not ever reduce your prices, rather demonstrate value. So some people were not convinced in one of my workshops that how can we demonstrate value? I gave them a very easy example. I said, you go to the franchise burger joint, like here in South Africa, we have Spur and we have Rocco Mama. You pay up to 120, 140 rands for a burger. Yet, you know for a fact that you can make that burger for around 10 rands, maybe pushing it 15 rands at most. So you are going to go and buy a burger for 10 times the price that you would be able to make it at home, yet you'll pay with a smile. Why? It's the same with coffee. I mean, I love coffee and I make a cappuccino every morning. And that cappuccino costs me about $4.50 to make, all inclusive. But we will gladly go to a coffee shop and pay anything from 32 to 35 rands for a cup of coffee. Why? It's simple. It's because they've convinced you somehow that they are giving you value. They are demonstrating value to you as a customer. And you are happy because you are getting that value. What is the value you're getting in a coffee shop? For example, you're getting a beautiful scenic setting. You're getting this ambience of the coffee shop. You're getting to sit with your friends in a beautiful lounge setting sometimes. There's plug points. You can work there. So they're giving you all of this value, but they're asking their price on that coffee. It's the same with the burger joint, right? You go to the burger joint, you sit there, the menu comes to you, you just say what you want, your food comes, no effort, Also, there's the ambience of the restaurant, there's spending time with your family. So they're giving you all of that. Plus, they give their products some unusual names like a smash burger or a Mexican burger or a salsa burger. But meantime, it's just the same thing with different sauces and different ingredients, slightly different ingredients. So they are demonstrating value to you and you're happy to go and buy it. Now, my question to them was, if you are able to be on the receiving end of such a demonstration, why can't you be on the giving end? Why do you have to concede defeat and say, I've got no value other than the product itself? Which brings us back to my original point. You don't really understand your products. You don't understand the problem it's solving. You don't understand the customer. You don't understand who you are targeting. And if you don't understand any of that, you're wasting your time. So my first advice is get to know your products, get to know whose problem it's solving. Or with a couple of tweaks, just a slight couple of tweaks, you might be solving a real problem, even if it's not really solving a major problem now. So think about that. Business is not something that, you just stick your hand out and things come to you. It's not like that. Business is a creative process. Business will challenge you. And if you're not willing to be challenged by business, if you don't enjoy the challenge of business, let's put it that way. If you don't thoroughly enjoy the creative process of coming up with new ideas, new solutions, new target markets, new audiences, then you should get a job, because I'm not sure if you are really made to be an entrepreneur. But I firmly believe that everybody has that capability. We are all creative in our own ways. So use that creativity. And the main thing is enjoy yourself. Thanks a lot.